Hello, Libra. What if I told you something big is already on its way to you, something that holds the power to shift your balance, heal your heart, and remind you who you really are? You didn't land on this video by chance. This moment is divinely timed. And the message you're about to receive was whispered through stardust and sent straight into your path. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, your sacred space for clarity, cosmic insight, and gentle transformation. Today is June 15th. And in numerology, the number 15 reduces to 6, the number of harmony, grace, and sacred reciprocity. It's no coincidence that Libra, the sign of divine balance, is being called now to listen. Not just to the world outside, but to the quiet recalibration happening inside your soul. Maybe you've felt it recently, that tug in your chest when you're holding everything together for others, but silently wondering, who's holding space for me? Maybe you've been navigating emotional noise, indecision, or just the deep ache of wanting more alignment with your relationships, your work, your purpose, or even just your own peace. If that resonates, take a deep breath, and trust, this reading was designed with you in mind. The universe is not asking you to have it all figured out. It's simply offering you a mirror and a moment to remember that you are allowed to choose yourself. Not as an act of defiance, but as an act of divine remembering. And Libra, you are so much more than a balancing act. You are the grace between extremes. You are the poetry in paradox. And today you are being guided toward a softer kind of power, the power to say no, the power to release, the power to realign without apology. This reading will uncover powerful truths. Not just about your relationships and opportunities, but about what you've outgrown and what's energetically waiting for you on the other side of surrender. Sparkles, drop a comment below with the number 6 if you're ready to return to harmony on your terms. Let me take just a moment to express my deepest gratitude for your presence here. Every like, every comment, every subscription you choose to share helps deepen your connection with the Zodiac Whisper Tarot family. Thank you, truly from the bottom of my heart. Your support fuels this channel and allows these soul-shifting messages to keep flowing. And Libra, trust me when I say you'll want to stay with me until the very end of today's reading. Because what the universe is about to reveal is not only specific, it's sacred. And before we begin, I invite you to ask yourself, what did I do, consciously or unconsciously, to attract this message into my life right now? There's a reason you're here. There's a message with your name on it. Let's begin. Sometimes, what feels like hesitation isn't fear, it's wisdom asking for a pause. As we transition from the introduction and step deeper into today's message, we enter a space where balance is no longer just a concept, it becomes a necessity. Libra, your energy is rooted in the sacred act of choosing with discernment. This next part of your journey isn't about keeping everything in place for the sake of peace. It's about understanding that real peace only exists when it includes you, too. When the scales of your life begin to tilt, you tend to stretch yourself thin trying to bring everything back into alignment. But what if the imbalance itself is not a flaw but an invitation? An invitation to let go of what you've been overcarrying, and to listen closely to what your inner voice has been whispering all along. In astrology, Libra governs the 7th house, the realm of partnerships, contracts, mirrors, and karmic lessons. And often, those mirrors reflect not just who we are but who we've been pretending to be in order to maintain harmony. There is a quiet kind of courage required when choosing yourself, especially when others expect you to choose them. But there is divine wisdom in understanding that choosing yourself does not mean rejecting others. It means anchoring your identity in something deeper than validation. It means allowing your yes to be genuine, not obligated. Your energy is ruled by Venus, the planet of beauty, value, and attraction. And when you are aligned with your values, you naturally attract what reflects those truths. This phase of your reading is a gentle reminder that what you tolerate teaches others how to engage with you. Boundaries are not walls, they are the sacred lines that protect your capacity to love well. When you learn to love yourself enough to say, "This no is a kindness to both of us," something shifts. The air around you becomes lighter. Your decisions begin to ripple outward with clarity. That ripple is your frequency rising. That ripple is the world learning how to meet you where you truly are, not where you're pretending to be. From a cosmic lens, we are in a cycle where relational energy is intensifying. Choices made in haste may carry weight, but choices made in stillness hold truth. That stillness is what you're being offered now. And from a grounded, human place, we know that clarity rarely arrives all at once. Often, it is formed in quiet, in small moments of noticing how you feel after that conversation, what your body says when you commit to something, the way your spirit contracts or expands. These subtleties are sacred messengers. Remember, even in scripture we are gently guided toward wisdom through choice. Not everything that glitters is gold. Not every open door leads to peace. But every time you pause and ask, "Is this aligned with who I'm becoming?" you are walking in grace. The most compassionate thing you can do for yourself and for others is to be honest with your energy. Are you saying yes because it's true? Or because you fear what a no might cost? Take this time not to fix, but to listen. Don't rush to restore what might be ready to be released. You are not here to maintain what is breaking you. You are here to build what honors you. And when the moment comes when you finally choose clarity over comfort, you will feel the quiet power that always comes with alignment. That is your gift, Libra. That is your return to truth. Stay with me, because we're about to explore the first message the cards have been holding for you. Change, even when necessary, often arrives wearing the veil of loss. As we move into this next part of your journey, Libra, it's important to recognize that letting go doesn't mean you've failed. It simply means you're choosing peace over pressure, alignment over expectation. The Six of Swords in your reading is a gentle but powerful symbol. It shows a boat moving away from choppy waters toward a calmer shore. You may not see exactly where you're headed yet, but your soul knows it's time to move. You've carried enough. And what you release now makes space for what's finally meant to meet you. Astrologically, Mercury forming a harmonious trine with Saturn opens a sacred window for logical thinking and structured emotional clarity. This isn't about rash decisions or dramatic exits. This is about mature detachment, the kind that honors what once was, while accepting that not everything meant something forever. Saturn reminds us that wisdom grows from boundaries. Mercury ensures that your voice, when guided by truth, is your compass. And together, they create the conditions for you to speak your release with calm, instead of chaos. There's also something deeply significant about the numerology here. The number 11 is not just a number, it's a portal. In many spiritual and philosophical systems, it represents inner awakening and divine intuition. But practically speaking, it reminds us to trust the gut feeling that nudges us when something no longer feels like home. You might not know what's coming next, and that's okay. Clarity doesn't always come before the leap. Sometimes, it arrives midair with the wind brushing your skin and the weight finally falling from your shoulders. This is a time to be honest with yourself. Not cruelly honest, but compassionately clear. If there's a relationship, a routine, a habit, or even a version of yourself you've outgrown, allow yourself the grace to say goodbye without guilt. Writing a letter, even one you never send, can be a profoundly healing way to release. Let it be messy. Let it be real. Let it say all the things you were too tender or too tired to say out loud. And then let it go. Burn it, bury it, or simply fold it away. Not for anyone else but for your own liberation. The color energy of pastel blue is especially helpful during this phase. It brings calm, cools inflammation, emotional and mental, and helps you return to a state of gentleness. It's the color of sky just after dawn, when everything is possible and nothing is rushing you. Surround yourself with softness right now. Wear it. Paint with it. Let it wrap around your nervous system like a promise that life doesn't have to be so loud or so heavy. And if I may, here's a quiet piece of wisdom I've learned from the teachings of love and grace. Not everything you lose is a punishment. Some things fall away because they were never meant to come with you to the next chapter. Sometimes, God closes a door not to keep you locked out, but to keep you safe from staying too long where your spirit no longer breathes. You're not walking away, you're walking toward stillness, toward truth, toward a life that reflects your actual needs, not just your past fears. So take this part slowly. No rush. No pressure. The newness you've been longing for is already on its way, but first, give yourself permission to leave the noise behind. You're not abandoning anything. You're simply reclaiming your right to peace. And peace, Libra, is not something you chase, it's something you allow. Let it come. Let it stay. And let it guide you forward. There's something uniquely powerful that happens when you stop waiting for permission and start honoring your inner rhythm. After choosing to walk away from what no longer serves you, you now step into a space where creation becomes your compass. This isn't just about productivity or performance, it's about the beauty that flows when you align with what feels like truth in your body and peace in your mind. The Empress appears in your reading now to remind you that you were never meant to just survive, you were meant to bloom. To create, not from urgency, but from joy. This phase of your journey is ruled by Venus, the planetary guardian of Libra, who governs beauty, harmony, pleasure, and attraction. But the kind of beauty Venus whispers about is not just what's seen, it's what's felt. It's in the way you tend to your inner garden. In the way you nurture your needs without shame. In the way you choose softness over self-judgment. When Venus lights up your chart, she doesn't just ask you to look good, she asks you to feel good, to feel nourished by your choices, and to bring grace into your daily rhythms. The number 3, appearing here through the Empress and the energy of creativity, signals expression and growth. It reminds you that life is not about fitting into someone else's mold but about shaping your own form with care and clarity. So much of our struggle comes from trying to meet invisible standards, someone else's definition of success, beauty, or worth. But what if you allowed yourself to redefine those terms completely? What if you measured success by your sense of peace, and beauty by how true you feel inside your own skin? This is your invitation to explore that. Through writing, through movement, through rearranging your space in a way that speaks to who you are now, not who you were a year ago. Maybe it's placing fresh flowers by your window. Maybe it's starting a new journal where your truth can land safely. Maybe it's as simple as changing your phone wallpaper to something that brings you calm instead of chaos. Small things, when done with presence, become acts of devotion. According to the law of attraction, the energy you send out is the energy you receive. And during this Empress season, the more you pour love into what you're doing, even if it's just preparing a meal or folding laundry, the more you magnetize beauty and joy back to you. This doesn't require perfection. It only requires intention. There is no one watching to see if you're doing it right. There is only the stillness inside you, waiting to be met with kindness. I've often heard that when we take care of what's been given to use our bodies, our time, our gifts, we naturally make space for more to come. Like a garden, the more we water it with attention and grace, the more it gives. The same applies to your soul. You don't have to be in a rush to prove your worth. You only need to treat yourself like you already are worthy. Because you are. This isn't about indulging for the sake of escape. It's about remembering that pleasure can be sacred. That self-expression is healing. That surrounding yourself with softness isn't weakness, it's wisdom. When you choose beauty on your terms, the world begins to mirror that confidence. When you create not to impress, but to connect, your energy shifts. You become magnetic not because you're trying to be, but because you're finally letting yourself be seen as you are. And that, Libra, is where your real power begins. Not everything that's unclear is meant to stay that way. Sometimes, we stand at a crossroads for so long that the fog begins to feel familiar. The Two of Swords in your reading represents this moment, the sacred pause before a decision, the still space between clarity and confusion. It often shows up when the heart already knows, but the mind keeps stalling, negotiating, or hoping the answer will change on its own. But Libra, your soul wasn't made to linger in indecision forever. There's beauty in balance, yes, but there's also freedom in choosing. With the Sun opposing Neptune right now, the energy you're moving through is both illuminating and challenging. Neptune's influence can wrap illusions in ribbons. It can make what's not meant for you look gentle, poetic, even safe. But when the Sun casts its full light across that illusion, you begin to see what's real, not just around you, but within you. This transit asks you to separate wishful thinking from grounded knowing. It invites you to trade temporary comfort for long-term peace. The number 2 is significant here, too. In numerology, it represents duality, yes or no, stay or go, speak or stay silent. But more importantly, it teaches us the strength of choosing with integrity. There is a difference between choosing what's easy and choosing what's true. And while the easier path may offer short-term relief, the honest path always leads to deeper wholeness. There is a quiet power that comes from facing what you've been avoiding, even if it's just admitting that you don't want to keep pretending anymore. Give yourself permission to sit with the question, what do I truly need right now? Not what others expect. Not what you've been taught to tolerate. But what actually supports your peace, your growth, your sense of safety. Spend 10 minutes in silence, not looking for a perfect answer, but simply creating enough space for truth to surface. When your nervous system feels safe, the heart speaks more clearly. And when your heart is heard, the mind can rest. The color ivory, soft and subtle, is the frequency of revelation without force. It doesn't shout or demand attention, it simply offers light in gentle waves. Invite this color into your space. Let it remind you that truth doesn't have to hurt. Sometimes, it arrives as a relief. Sometimes, it's the quiet moment you realize you're allowed to stop explaining yourself. That you don't need a crisis to justify your clarity. That peace is reason enough. One gentle principle that often guides us in these moments is this: if something costs you your peace over and over again, it might be too expensive, no matter how familiar it feels. You're not being asked to be unkind. You're being asked to be honest. Honesty, even when uncomfortable, creates alignment. And alignment creates ease. You may not control how others receive your truth, but you do get to choose whether you live in it. You've already done the hard part, carrying the weight of uncertainty. Now comes the softer, braver step, setting it down. Choosing one direction doesn't mean you're burning bridges. It simply means you're building one back to yourself. You don't have to decide everything today. You just have to take one honest step forward. And if you listen closely, really closely, you might hear the quiet sound of your soul exhaling. That's what truth feels like. That's what freedom begins to sound like. When you've moved through doubt, made space for truth, and begun honoring your creative rhythm, what comes next often surprises you, not because it's undeserved, but because it arrives with such gentleness. That's the kind of energy present now, Libra. The appearance of the Ten of Pentacles alongside the Page of Cups signals a season where emotional sincerity meets tangible abundance. After navigating through inner fog and making difficult yet empowering decisions, you're entering a chapter where stability and sweetness begin to show up in real, grounded ways. This energy doesn't scream for attention, it flows in like a warm breeze through an open window. You might receive unexpected financial support, a career opportunity that finally aligns with your values, or even a heartfelt message from someone who truly sees you. This isn't the kind of abundance that's loud or flashy. It's the quiet kind that fills your home with peace, your heart with security, and your days with soft joy. Jupiter, currently blessing your 4th house, magnifies all things related to your roots, your family, your emotional safety, your foundation. It's as if life is making space to support you in ways you once had to fight for. In numerology, the number 33 is considered a master number, carrying the vibration of compassionate leadership, spiritual alignment, and unconditional love. But practically speaking, it reminds us that true prosperity is a shared experience. You thrive most when your heart is open, not guarded. And you receive most when you trust that goodness isn't something you earn, it's something you allow. That allowance begins with one simple act: gratitude. Try writing a letter of thanks to your future self 6 months from now, a year from now. Let it reflect your trust in the process, your belief that all the seeds you're planting now will bloom in perfect time. This small ritual doesn't just ground your intentions, it shifts your mindset from scarcity to readiness. And readiness is often the very frequency that abundance recognizes. The color pearl green, a gentle blend of soft opulence and emotional depth, can be your ally in this process. Whether through the clothes you wear, the textures you surround yourself with, or even the images on your vision board, this tone invites in nurturing energy. It asks you to step into a reality where your needs are met without guilt and where love doesn't feel like labor. And if at any point, you catch yourself wondering if this blessing is too good to be true, pause. Instead of retreating into disbelief, lean into gentle remembrance. Just because you've grown used to struggle doesn't mean it's your only path. Sometimes, goodness takes time to arrive because it had to wait until you were strong enough to receive it with both hands open and heart ready. Sometimes, what you feared losing was never as precious as what's on its way to you now. In moments like this, I often recall a quiet teaching. When we give thanks in advance, we demonstrate trust. And when we stop questioning whether we're worthy and instead begin preparing for the good, we align ourselves with it. So let yourself receive fully, without shrinking. The blessing that's approaching isn't just about money or affection. It's about restoration. It's about the sense of home, within and around you, finally feeling safe, solid, and real. You've earned this through your courage. You've attracted it through your clarity. Now let it land and let it love you back. Stay open, Libra. What's coming may be quieter than you expected, but it holds more than you've dared to hope for. And it's yours now. If you've made it here, Libra, I want you to take one quiet breath and hold this moment close. You've walked through truth, through release, through rediscovery, and now you stand at a threshold. Not one of chaos, but of clarity. Not of confusion, but of choice. And the most powerful realization I hope you carry with you is this: your life is not something happening to you, it's something you are constantly co-creating, with each thought, each decision, each act of gentleness you extend to yourself. You don't have to be perfect to begin again. You don't need to have every answer to take the next step. What matters is that you're willing to pause and ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to live from this point forward? And even more importantly, what am I no longer willing to carry with me? Because your energy is sacred. And what you give it to becomes your reality. So as you leave this space and return to the rhythm of your day, I encourage you to do something small but intentional. Maybe it's writing down one affirmation that resonated with you. Maybe it's rearranging a corner of your room to reflect the softness you crave. Maybe it's saying no to something that drains you, and yes to something that nourishes you. Even a 5-minute act of alignment is powerful. Even a whispered truth to yourself holds the power to ripple through your life. The purpose of this message has never been to predict your future, it's to remind you that you hold the pen. You are the artist of your experience. And what you believe about yourself sets the tone for what you allow in. So I'll ask you now, gently but clearly, what do you need to stop apologizing for? What would happen if you trusted that your needs, your dreams, and your energy truly matter? Libra, you didn't come to this life to spend it trying to be what everyone else needs. You came here to live in a way that honors the truth of who you are. Your beauty, your voice, your balance, they are all part of a greater purpose. And when you choose yourself not with arrogance, but with quiet courage, the universe begins to reorganize itself around your authenticity. So if something resonated with you today, if even one sentence stirred something inside your heart, I want to invite you to reflect and share. Drop a comment below and write, "I choose myself with love." Let that be your declaration. Let it be your promise to stop shrinking into spaces you've outgrown. And if this video gave you something, a new perspective, a gentle reminder, or just a soft moment of pause. I would be so grateful if you'd support this journey by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with someone you care about. Every bit of engagement helps this family grow, and your presence here truly makes a difference. From all of us at Zodiac Whisper Tarot, thank you for being here. For showing up with an open heart. For choosing to listen when the noise of life can be so loud. May this message stay with you not as a one-time reading, but as a gentle voice that reminds you of your power every time you doubt it. May you walk with ease, speak with clarity, and love without condition, starting with yourself. And finally, let me ask you, what is one small thing you will do today to honor the version of you you're becoming? I'd love to read your answers in the comments. You never know who might need to hear your words. Keep choosing your truth, Libra. And until next time, stay aligned, stay kind, and stay beautifully you.